Come on, get down. In this video, I'm gonna review climbing a freaking mountain and showing my Whoop stats of what my body went through during it. So why in the hell would anyone want to climb a mountain? That's the exact question I wanted to answer by taking a crack at climbing Mount Hood, located just outside Portland, Oregon. This majestic product of Mother Nature stands at an elevation of 11,250 feet. The climb starts roughly 1 mile below and 4.5 miles away from the summit. Because of the glaciers and the snow, it's best to start around midnight and take the average 7 hours to the summit and the 4 hours back to your car, give or take some time resting and waiting on certain bottlenecks, ending around the afternoon of the next day. We're talking about 12 hours of cold and windy conditions of just walking up and down upwards of 60% grades. As far as mountains go, it's considered one of the easiest to trek. It takes some minor technical climbing skills, and only at one part did I need to rely on some bouldering skills I have from prior rock climbing experience. For the most part, it's something open to anyone maniacal enough to attempt it. For the entirety of the climb, I wore my Whoop strap up here on my bicep, and it's a fitness tracker if you don't know. If you're not familiar with its capabilities, I have a whole series on the link in the description, and you can go check that out. But prior to this, I had done no physical activity that lasted for more than a few hours consecutively. I'm currently walking around at about 6 foot, 210 pounds. I'm not necessarily built for endurance right now. So let's talk first about the prep for something like this, or in my case, the lack of prep. So leading up to the climb, I had some ideas that I wanted to cut roughly 20 pounds and do a series of rucking and leg workouts to make sure I was ready for this climb. But what happened to me? Well, firstly, physically, I was out of the gym. I'm in a flag football league and got some of the worst turf burn I've ever had. And I played sports my entire life. As my doctor fed me a not so subtle dose of reality, I'm getting older and I can't heal as quickly. My legs swelled about 2.5 inches and it got infected. I stayed out of the gym for 2.5 weeks and just couldn't train. I was told I'd be pushing it by the doc and it wouldn't be really wise to climb, but it was possible if I wanted the help of some strong antibiotics and to rest. Right at the time of the climb, my leg was probably about 90% healed. Next, 59 minutes of sleep. From a plane ride over to getting gear, car rental, even having to deal with a flat tire and a crying baby next to our room, 59 minutes of sleep is all I got before the climb. Because of the potential for bad weather, you're limited, and in our case, we were limited to climbing the night we landed. You don't want to be up there during a bad snow. It felt like as soon as I shut my eyes, it was time to leave. But none of this was going to hurt me more than one large mental aspect I was dealing with. For the purpose of this video, I felt it was important to be transparent and share a bit of personal news. About a month ago, prior to this climb, I had gone through a breakup with someone that I had imagined I was going to spend the rest of my life with. It sent a large, very large bit of sadness and depression that kept me out of the gym, and I just wasn't being as active as I usually am. I didn't get the proper exercise, and I didn't cut the weight I wanted. And why is that important to share? Because one thing I know is that our physical bodies are very resilient. We all have the ability to push ourselves past any sort of physical adversity, no matter how much it sucks. As I've told many people, you'll pass out before you die. But mentally, we all have this terrible bad habit of stopping ourselves. As David Goggins is notable for saying, most of us give up at only 40% of what our body is capable of. It's all mental. And in my opinion, this climb was 70% mental, and mentally I was not in it. From prior to the climb thinking, what's the point, to step one on the mountain thinking, I just want to quit. And it's quiet at 1 a.m. up there. The only thing you hear is the crunching of the snow beneath your boot and each breath you take. So all of these thoughts started running through my head. My leg hurts. Is this stupid? I want to get more sleep. What am I trying to prove? What could I have done to stop the breakup? And the thought that crossed my mind the most and thousands of times, even 300 feet from the summit, I just want to turn around and quit. And then it happens. It's like a forced meditation. It's like locking yourself in a room and not letting yourself out until you found a solution to a problem. It's like your own mental escape room. You have to deal with who you are and your own reality and what you're going through, and you have 12 hours to do it. Sure, at times I broke up the silence of monotony by talking, but for a majority of the time, it was just me being alone with my thoughts. And that's a scary thing for a lot of people and not something that we do. Before I recap what I learned mentally from this, let's talk about the physical stats using Whoop. Firstly, that 59 minutes of sleep. I can barely sit and work at a desk on 59 minutes of sleep. On top of that, going from east to west coast, that change of 3 hours is just enough to mess with your circadian rhythm that has negative effects on your body. I got incredibly slap happy at times. I was talking about completely dumb crap that didn't make any sense, singing Miley Cyrus's The Climb, and ran up a small stretches of the mountain. But as our breaks got longer and longer, starting at an area called Devil's Kitchen, I could feel my body starving for sleep, even to the point where I felt bouts of, micro sleep, shutting my eyes and just snoozing for a second. Nutrition-wise, I had no idea what I was doing. On normal days, I'm consuming upwards of 3,500 calories, so my pack was filled with cheese sticks, jerky, Cliff Bars, delicious complete cookies, and Snickers. Oh yeah, Snickers. I consumed roughly 1,700 calories. I know it wasn't near enough, but it was freaking cold up there. The last thing you want to do is sit and eat with gloves off and your face exposed. For the day of the climb, I burned over 6,500 calories. Now for my heart and strain. This is where experience came to play. I know when setting a pace, you want to be able to talk without losing your breath. So at times I would intentionally start conversations to ensure I was keeping the right pace. This was something I learned through zone, cycle, and marathon training in the past. Your all-day pace should be when you have the ability to hold a conversation and keep moving. If I felt that I was moving and could feel my heartbeat, I also knew that I was nearing around 160 beats per minute and wanted to stay about the 140 to 150 range at max. So I would rest. Looking at the data, I held that top trend line perfectly, and this was just experience and knowing my body. From a breathing perspective, I'd spent a lot of time in the past few months reading and testing breathing techniques and exercises from Wim Hof and Breath by James Nestor. Each of my breaths was intentionally slow and deep and through the nose. If I felt my breath getting off, I would use a technique learned from a podcast with Dr. Andrew Huberman. You take a deep breath, and then one more. And then you breathe out and you reset your pace. All this kept me moving and reducing potential physical fatigue. But regardless, I had a 20.6 cardiovascular strain. If you don't know what that is, just for the purposes of this discussion, the Whoop strap maxes out at 21, which is running your heart at maximum capacity during the time you're awake. It's not possible. So anything close to it is pushing your body to its absolute limits. And on this climb, how the hell could you not? So recapping the physical aspects of it, it was tough. It was the toughest physical challenge I've ever done. But seeing those on the mountain, I think if you don't think you're ready to do it, you'd be incredibly surprised to know that your body is probably physically ready. But mentally, I realized a lot about myself on that mountain. I don't think I've ever done something so mentally tasking. I was thinking at the time perhaps it was mentally wanting to quit and going to a nice, warm, cozy bed. But I think it was a lot about dealing with some personal demons. Like I said before, I had gone through the end of a pretty serious relationship. Plus, I'm about to move my life from South Florida to Austin, Texas. Not a single person who I have ever met would probably characterize me as a spiritual person. But when I got to that summit, I had some odd, euphoric, and enlightening realization. Basically, I was lying to myself about the effect of COVID and the pandemic. And the moment I made it to the summit, I felt an experience that I forgot about since pre-COVID. Personally, I love to travel and I love to be outdoors and live life and experience new things. I'm incredibly active and generally I'm always a happy person and have little to no stresses. I wasn't doing any of that and I was ignoring signs of depression. I was distant, I was disconnected, and I just didn't realize it. Truly had zero idea what I was doing. I didn't put in the effort in my relationship that it deserved and was too stubborn to listen. In the end, I paid the price for it. Even after the breakup, I distracted myself with video games, movies, social media, and any crap content I could consume without having to deal with reality. On that mountain, you can't do that. This was an important trip for me in that I came to terms with my stubborn self, that I have things to work on. Before this trip, there's no way I would ever made a video like this being open and vulnerable. That's not how people know me. But the entire experience was incredible for my physical and mental health. Physically, I confirmed that my body is ready for just about anything. And mentally, I realized that's not the case. I got a lot of things to work on to be a better person and a better partner. Things as a guy from the Midwest, I would never have wanted to admit needed work. Being more emotionally open and dealing with the mental aspects of what the pandemic has done to me. You're supposed to be strong. I gotta ask and seek help. Also, it gave me a newfound respect for climbers and empathy for why they do it. Just being on that mountain, you're away from everything. I live in a metro area here in South Florida with roughly 7 to 8 million people between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. But on that mountain, there were times I could only see my friends around me. It's peaceful. You're facing this incredible natural structure, and it just makes you feel so small. Sure, 10,000 people attempt Mount Hood every year, but by percentage of the population in this world, you're hitting somewhere only a small fraction of people will ever beat. And the views are breathtaking. Moving up through the aptly named pearly gates, you enter your last stretch of the summit, which can look like heaven on earth. It's a feat that is well earned, but the time to celebrate is short-lived. You have no idea how freaking windy and cold the top was. I think we spent probably like 5 minutes at the top and headed down for some cover. You see these awesome documentaries that the climax and end with the final ascent and summit. But you know you gotta get back down? That realization that hit me was not great. You came to do what you did, and now you gotta get back to the car. There's no slide, no ride. Just one foot in front of the other, attacking different muscles down than you used up. Now some of you may be interested in the recovery. Surprisingly, I didn't feel as sore as I thought I would. But what was incredibly impressive with the Whoop strap was the recommended sleep. I love this device so much. It was able to calculate this incredible exertion on my body and know that I needed a minimum 12 hours sleep, of which I got 11. This device was great for managing and analyzing my entire attempt and success on Mount Hood. So to wrap this up, and as cheesy as it sounds, I would recommend anyone to make a climb, or at least climb your own metaphorical mountain. I didn't know what I was getting into beyond my friends nagging me to give it a shot. I don't think I'm ever going to do something like Everest, let alone Mount Rainier, but I'm so glad I did this. I don't know if you'll experience something similar or if anyone I was with experienced the same thing, but I would have never thought to have this odd spiritual enlightenment. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't give a huge shout out to my support, my old fraternity brothers who I went with, Curtis Parks, Chris Scavera, and Jordan Ullum. A big part about getting to the top is having the right people around you and pushing you for the better. Not weighing you down, but lifting you up. Not everyone makes it to the top on their attempt, but we made it a point that we were all getting there together, and we did. You'll see some videos regarding products to improve mental health coming up and mixed in with my normal reviews, such as a journal that I just purchased. Even monitoring my improvements in HRV as measured by my Whoop, which I noticed did drop 20 points. It's amazing how this thing can measure an effect of your mental health. As someone raised in the Midwest, men just generally aren't ones to talk about feelings and asking for help. That was my greatest takeaway from doing this. Now I know I can't change the past, but I can work on getting back to that feeling I felt on that summit and getting back to who I am and be even better for the future and for those around me. You do something difficult and you learn about yourself. So what's next? Oh, that's it. That's the end of it.